kind of courageous civic leadership. They took the time to know the opportunities, and I encourage you to do that as well. They got smart about how to do public-private partnerships, and they used their tool. Zoning, TIF. You can go on down the list of the things that have been used in these various communities to position them for success. And to key off of one of the points that was made earlier, these communities have gotten really smart about using incentives. They're not using incentives in many cases because communities can't afford to do that to try to buy economic development. They're finding developers and business folks who are there for the long haul saying, what do we need to do to make this deal work? And they're bringing that leverage in that kind of way. And so I think one of the key things in your toolbook is how do you get really smart when you invest, when you use incentives, and when you look at it and go, this deal's too rich. The potential for return is too high, and if we fail, it could create massive pushback from our community because we've now saddled them with too much debt or too many obligations for which that development is not giving us a return. So being smart about that becomes terribly important. Sarah, I'm going to turn it back to you, and then maybe we have a little bit of time for some questions. Thank you, folks.
And we do have several minutes for questions, so I hope you'll think them up. This is our opportunity to access this challenge right here today. But what we will be posting to our USDA Rural Development website, and also I'm going to show you, might want to get a pen in hand and write down the link, but I intend to communicate with you this as well. Don and the Center for Rural Entrepreneurship have taken that ESRI data and these thoughts about how do you realize what people are seeking and translate that to what you're doing in your community in terms of your policy and planning levers into various attraction guides. So we're going to be able to post these attraction guides to our website, and also through a link that Don is going to provide here. So if you're intrigued, you'll be able to do further research. They're making available to us at no cost these attraction guides that you'll be able to download and dig into. So that is the link that will be posted at our website, but please write it down yourself now so that you can access this yourself. We're also, Don was showing me yesterday a community profile for Jackson, Arkansas, I think.
Joe Davies County, Illinois. Oh no, it was Newport, Arkansas.
It was Newport, Arkansas. But the way, and he's going to post a sample community profile for us as well. And it's just tremendous how just reading Don's work, you can learn so much about where different kinds of data exist. You know, we probably, or many of us know what it means to analyze your economy using location quotients, for example. It shows you what sectors are growing, what sectors are contracting, and compares that from a national perspective, is that sector growing or contracting? So he's going to post a community profile that again can be an educational tool for us on how do we gather data and analyze what's going on in our community. So we look forward to providing you those resources. My offer to you now is to share any questions that you might have for Don before I tell you about at least one set of next steps that we are planning. Anyone got a question? I've got my team out there with the microphones.
And if you disagree, that's fair game too. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Don, I've got one. Okay. So, it's typical of me. One of the ways that I sort of synthesize the value and the beauty of a rural community to me is when you're thinking about attracting families. The short way I put it is, well, would you like your child to play first string or third string? Or as someone said yesterday, or not at all. Is that a fair way to represent what a rural community might offer, to boil it down like that?
Yeah, and a lot of communities do that. And I think this is kind of a heart and soul kind of issue. We have rural communities across America where at the holidays, they're encouraged to have a conversation with the children they still have in town and the children who come back for the holiday. And it's real interesting. Now again, we're talking about rural places that typically have been losing folks for a long time. The community where I went to high school, 80 to 90% of the high school graduates for the last 30 years have been leaving and not coming back. That's problematic. And so the conversation, Sarah, kind of goes like this. So if you're thinking about that junior or sophomore that's sitting around the table, and typically we would talk to them, well, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go to school? What do you want to do with your life? But we don't ask the question, what's really important to your life? And it's a very different question. And what we find is that consistently a percentage, anywhere between a third and a half, talk about how they really value the life that they've had, the community they've lived in. But maybe the signal has been, this is not a community where your future can be. And so they've made the mental decision that I got to go someplace else. That was the case with me. Everybody around me said, Don, you've got to go someplace else if you can. And the implication was, if you're not talented enough, then maybe you should stay. Well, that's a horrible proposition. That's a horrible proposition to put to folks. And then with young people who are coming back for the holidays, maybe they're in school or in the military, having that same conversation and beginning to understand that some of them really do want to make your community their community. But again, the assumption is someplace better, someplace else has got to be better, and we're going to move. And so out of those conversations come more serious conversations about, okay, how do we make that happen? If you want to come back, how do you create a career and a job that allows you to come back to the community? The bottom line is, when you got enough of that going on, Sarah, it creates an attitude where it's now okay to talk about this, but you're also sending a powerful message to anybody who's thinking about your community, that if the folks who live there are kind of shy about the quality of your community, then you're probably not up to snuff. But if you can get to that place,